it is your buddy Peace and Harmony with you here today. And we're zooming in and focusing in on a very important topic. And that is really as an inspiration or response to a very common and frequent question that I get in at the channel in terms of a lot of viewer feedback. And that is an experience of a chronic feeling of depression, a chronic feeling of a mild unhappiness, a sort of an overall pervasive feeling that something is just not right because of this long-standing relationship that they have been involved with a covert narcissist, a malignant narcissist, or a psychopath. Someone who has gotten an emotional stranglehold on them, someone who has kind of violated their boundaries, someone who has waffled them down, got them established in a role where they are muffled, where they're weak, where they're subdued. They're made to feel meek. They're made to feel weak. They're made to feel less than, as really a culmination or a result of appeasing this person and being there to satisfy their needs for them. In other words, there's been an unconscious traumatic bond set up where in order to satisfy the narcissist or the psychopath's needs, they unconsciously will find somebody to take out their aggressions, their fears, their insecurities, their need to control others, their need to dominate, their need to kind of enmesh. And it becomes a very difficult position to be in when you have been in a position of supply, and then you had basically then created a reaction formation or a reactive personality sort of to keep the relationship intact, to keep the relationship afloat, to keep the homeostasis, to keep them happy. So, they might be your spouse, they might be your parent, they might be a coworker, they might be a sibling, but there's a feeling like there's something that you can't put your finger on. You can't quite, it's on the tip of your tongue. You just don't know what it is, but it's very pervasive. It's very ongoing. And this depression, this feeling of like somewhat of an isolation, or that you're not quite where you're supposed to be emotionally, psychologically, physically, financially, you're not in the relationships, you're feeling like something is just a little off. And Alice Miller, in a wonderful book that she has called The Drama of the Gifted Child, goes into a great, yes, Alice Miller. She goes into a great expletive about this, and she talks about on how an experience is to be around a controlling or a narcissist individual, someone who has their needs as the priority of the relationship. So if they need to control, if they need to lambast, if they have a need of insecurity, so they need to scapegoat, if they've had terrible things done into their life, and they're trying to overcome it and then create a facade that everything is just right, but there's always going to be that one person who they scapegoat, and it's kind of like sealing the deal. It's letting their previous perpetrator know that you're not going to get the best of me. I am the one with the upper hand, so they will take advantage of that position of authority, either genetically, being male over a female, or a very strong woman over another male. Or parent and child. They can use whatever sort of weight that they want to push around in this manner. And it becomes really sort of a covert bullying. And oftentimes it can wear the facade or the mask of caring, love. I'm giving you a place to live. I'm giving you a place to eat. I'm taking you on vacations. So it can take the taint of caring for you. So that's where we have the real trauma bond and your intermittent reward and pain sort of experience. And this can create a very sort of deep, ongoing, pervasive, and chronic depression, feeling like something is right. I'm inadvertently slugged in the stomach, and yet, I don't know when it happened. I don't know if it happened once. Has it happened over a decade? Has it happened over centuries? Did it happen over a millisecond? When did this happen? And so, Alice Miller, she talks about this, and I'll just read a quick passage here. Basically the people who do well, in other words, they do excellently, they do well to raise their children, they might do well at their job, but yet they leave their job and they feel empty, alienated, they might be doing very well in very specific or isolated areas, but then in very specific areas, their story is not matching up. Things are not, emotionally, they're not feeling how they would anticipate or expect themselves to be. Their expectations are not met. The story of how they think their life should be going, something is not right. Something is awry. And then she sees this basically, that these people can be admired, even envied. I mean, they can be very, you can continue with your life, yet there's something, you can, hold a job or, other specific things that are important to you. And you might even be admired or envied. They're successful whenever they care to be. But behind all this lurks a depression, a feeling of emptiness and self-alienation, in a sense that their life has no meaning. These dark feelings will come to the fore as soon as the drug of grandiosity fails, as soon as they are not, quote unquote, on top, or not definitely, quote unquote, the superstar, or whenever they suddenly get the feeling that they have failed to live up to some ideal image. And have not measured up to some standard. Then they are plagued by anxiety and deep feelings of guilt and shame. And then, it's just, the whole reasoning is awry. And oftentimes it is because this has, you had, unconsciously then, because you were in a relationship where you had to echo the insecurity needs of this narcissist. You had to get onto a loop. You had to do the give and take. You had to seal the deal. You had to put yourself in the position. You had to accept, basically, you had to belong. This was a must do for you. You had to do this. You had to adapt, do or die. And so you had, intermittently then responded, but then you kind of knowing that, this is against my nature, best my better good, yet this is my mother, this is my spouse, this is my sibling, this is my fiance, or, what have you, whoever the relationship is. And so there's this dichotomy, there's this cognitive dissonance that, sets up. And that is really kind of the core of the trauma bond, and, hopefully helps you to understand the why of why this happens. And, it's because you have inadvertently satisfied their narcissistic needs and subjugated or denied, withheld, or not experienced your own. And sometimes it can be your own ever. You don't know that you have the right to say no. You don't know that you have the right to, speak up and not have to do specific things. You don't have to over obligate yourself. But this needs to be experienced, and eventually there becomes an epiphany, or, when the pain gets really great and you go, wow, this is really bad now. Like, we have to do something. And basically, life is calling you to an epiphany, or really kind of a valley moment, really, where it's getting really tough. And then basically you have to start asking yourself the questions, what can I do to get beyond this? I have to get beyond this now. I mean, it becomes a must do rather than I should. And so, it's very important, because the internal you never has a chance to, as I say, get out and be exercised, speak and be experienced and loved and known. It's never, and so this oftentimes is because then you're expecting your life, because you've done A, B, and C, that you should now have X, Y, and Z, or there's going to be some disappointment of why you're feeling this lurking depression, because the story of what you think you should have right now is not what you have. So there's a disparity. There's a gap, and so you have to look, okay, and reassess and rejuggle and say, okay, I am not, my needs were not being met, or my expectations are not being met now, and now is the time for me to make like a radical change and begin to see not only the why, but, and then also, understand the reasoning of the person, and then love them for that was in their natural, that was their natural drive. And, whether it was, pre-calculated or determined or on purpose or whatever it is, that's not relevant. What's only relevant is that now you understand it and you realize that that is oftentimes the core of that depression and that isolation, because you have not been able to get your one foot in step of the other and get enough momentum going in your life to free you and then get you into the experiences that you need to become validated. So that's why it's so important to work your recovery journal on a daily basis and write out your goals, write out your objectives, even if it's 3 things, even if it's 1, even if it's calling, a more positive emotional state, even if it's calling forth gratitude, even if it's calling forth calm, even if it's, validating yourself, your self-trust. I've got this. You need to be an active participant in validating yourself. If this person has injured you or caused this depression, now is the time. The health is in your hands to be able to heal that and give yourself the validation, the little whispers, good job, the pat on the back, the self-embrace, the warm cup of coffee, the moment of prayer, the moment of meditation, the moment of focus. You owe yourself these experiences and call them forth into your day, but you have to actively do it. Well, peace and harmony, this sounds like a lot of work. It's not work. You just have to be conscious. You have to write it down. That's why I always say, get a pen and get a notebook and get yourself, writing this stuff down, because something magical happens when you write it down and gaze your eyes on it. It takes on a reality. It takes on a validity. It takes on a presence. It takes on a sort of, it takes on whatever you want to call it. Miracle dust. It takes on miracle juice. It takes on miracle, manifesting factors. It becomes real. It's just like you have, people say, well, I want a better life, or I want to know what my talents are, or I'm so sick of being depleted and exhausted. Well, probably you have to break the habit of feeling that way. And then you have to get your goals in front of you. If your goal is to be happy, then get in touch with that. Write it down. What is your goal? What are my 3 goals today? Be happy, be safe, be secure. Notice I said goals are B-E as in B states, because your B states are like the fertilizer that helps the other stuff come into play. And so, be gracious, have gratitude, be wise, be knowing, be certainty, be inspiration, be freedom, be independent, be individuated, be creative, be talented, be musical, be at peace, be at calm, whatever that B state is, be healthy. Make sure you have a list of 3 goals and then measure yourself, as you're going through the day, through the week, through the month, through the next 60 days, through the next 90 days. Are you holding yourself accountable? Are you in those B states? Are you following up on the recovery date? Are you giving yourself the recovery gift? Are you getting your lessons learned, and are you taking a moment to read them? Or are you just shuffling around in self-doubt and self-pity and having a pity party and say, woe is me, doesn't anyone want to drown with me? You're going to have 2 totally different outcomes at the end of the week, end of the month, end of the year, end of the next 5 years, end of the next decade, if you put that into play. But you can't be put into play if you're sitting on the sidelines, sulking, with your head in your hands, looking down at the ground, feeling sorry for yourself. You're not opening up. Life eventually is going to give you a shoulder shake and just say, come on, it's time to play. It's time to get in the game. The coach wants you in, and it's like the whistle's going off, and it's like you're ready to rock. So, get yourself into that state where you're in touch with your goals. You're realizing and understanding how this was set up in the beginning, so you can kind of separate yourself, emotionally, intellectually, spiritually, psychologically, so that you can then begin to, repair the siding, repair, the sidewall, begin to shore up your, internal real estate, and get that really sealed and tuckered in, so that not tuckered in, but like sealed, tuck pointed. So, it's, the brim is strong. there is no, threat of engulfment. If the engulfment comes, it just washes away. If the perpetrators or violators, they'll see that they're not going to get anywhere. They know that you've got an energetic boundary, you've got an awareness, you've got a conscious decision that you're making, and that you have, are in the process of, and they will come then to recognize that, and they won't be able to violate, perpetrate, and cause this, this stranglehold on you and control and violation. And they'll know, hands off, you've got this. I can no longer get away with or treating this person in this disrespectful, dishonorable, abusive, scapegoating manner. They won't have anything to do with it. Furthermore, it doesn't really have any meaning to them. It doesn't really, it doesn't have, it doesn't hurt their feelings. In other words, they're becoming self-generative. They're generating their own thoughts, plans, ideas, their own values. And this is the core of them. And then, once you're able to get that enough of experience and repetition in that, then they'll be able to interact with that. And then you will have basically people reacting to the new you. People say it's an energy shift, an awareness shift, a growth, a breakthrough, an epiphany, an aha moment. Oh, now I get it. And then you begin to keep up the momentum, but you have to keep working in it for that depression to fade away. And you have to, be able to, kiss the depression goodbye, almost like a strange bedfellow, as they say. You've been a comforting friend. My depression, you're like the background that helps me to appreciate the foreground now in my life. I know what you are, depression. If you kind of personalize it like that, you've been with me for such and such amount of time. You've been a constant companion to me, but it's now time for me to let you go. And I bid you adieu. You were a great brother, a great sister to me. Thank you for your kindness, but now I must send you on your merry way, and away you go. Kiss them goodbye. Kiss that depression goodbye, because oftentimes people will keep that depression as a way to stay stuck because they have a payoff from staying stuck. The pity party. It's much easier to sulk and be depressed than it is to take responsibility and look, take a pen and a piece of paper and write, be happy, and look at that and then think of ways, how can I bring more happiness into my life today? You have to retrain your, diphthongs and gladules on your tongue to ask new questions. You need to be able to ask this stuff. What can I do to be more happy today? More energized, more forthright, more deserving, more respected? What can I do to really shore up my boundaries better so this never happens again? What can I do to seal the deal with my happiness and my gratitude? What can I do today that will let the Creator know that I exist and I exist for Him and I exist for contribution and service, and it is with that I will draw forth the much healthier relationships in the bonds and something that you can truly share and have a healthy relationship. And it's kind of like through meeting that, then you will meet the right people. I will end it here. I could go on for a lot longer, but I know, I want you to be able to fill in this, watch your goals. Thank you for watching. It's your buddy, Peace and Harmony, with you here today. I hope that these videos do help. Please share, please subscribe, and please donate for more great tools, videos, discussion, and support.